So listen, very excited to have this conversation. Thank you all for DJK. That's right. That's my new DJ name. So we're here today with this amazing group. Let me share my screen so you all can remember exactly why you all joined. Let me set this up.
That's why we joined.
That's why. That's exactly. That's why. That's actually truly why they joined. So everyone is here to talk about speed to ROI, right? Speed to return on investment. You don't want to put an investment out there and have to wait years and years to get a result. Sometimes even months is too long to get a result. So how do you speed to ROI? And in this case, it's about integrating technology to create a fast or the fastest route to closing, okay? And today we have an amazing group of people sharing this. And this was all really driven by you, Katherine. Katherine Campbell, who's the Chief Digital Officer at Assurance Financial, this was driven by her enthusiasm and the results that she's been seeing. So Katherine from Assurance is going to be sharing some of that stories with us. Katherine, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We also have David Karandish from Capacity, founder and CEO there. You've heard his name. If you've been on previous conversations with us, you know how brilliant he and his team are and what they're doing in the AI and the communication space. So David, thank you so much for joining today.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Of course. And then I am Alex Kutsishin, co-founder, CEO here at Sales Boomerang. And since this particular conversation is about Sales Boomerang Capacity, here I am representing Sales Boomerang. So we came here because Katherine from Assurance has been experiencing some amazing results. I'm going to throw that stat on screen real quick, and then we're going to dive into the conversation. Remember, the goal of this conversation is speed to ROI. I'm going to show this one stat real quick, then I'm going to take this off screen, and then we're going to talk about how we got there and the interactions. So, Katherine, 280 million in additional volume from the Sales Boomerang notifications that are tied in to Capacity. Can you talk about that for just a minute? And then let's get into the rest of the conversation.
Sure. It was a very exciting year. We're a mid-size IMB. So that's a significant number for us. It's a significant lift for us. And, there was no doubt that what you do, and hopefully you'll go into some depth more about exactly the services that Sales Boomerang offers. But that was, from a marketing standpoint, no doubt that made a lot of sense to roll out to our company. It's the marketing adage though, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I led some people in, some people saw some early opportunities, and not everybody was as engaged as really they should be, because you're talking about literally business in their email is the way we were distributing these alerts. And so recognizing that we had to make it almost impossible to not use your incredible service, we started to think about how could we distribute it out. It's sort of like an iPhone, right? It's cool that it has a nice camera and it's a nice phone, but it's all the apps in the phone that make it so cool. And then when you have alerts in those apps, it makes you open the app, right? So this is sort of the evolution that we need to get to with being good marketers for our loan officers, and that's how we thought of it.
Awesome, fantastic. And so, Katherine, you made a good point. We were talking earlier and you brought up, you said, hey, the last time we did this, both David and I kind of briefly talked about what each of our organizations do, and then we jumped into the rest of the conversation. So per sort of your request for the audience, for the listening audience, is like, hey, what is Sales Boomerang? What is Capacity? What is the benefits? How does it all work? David, I'm going to give you the floor first. Why don't you share about Capacity, and then I'll jump in and talk about Sales Boomerang. That way we get to hear from you early on, and not just me and Katherine right here in the beginning. So why don't you jump in?
So just to kind of kick off, if I was going to describe Capacity in 3 words, I would say it's a support automation platform. So if I unpack that, when we started just about 4 years ago, we were answering about half your questions automatically through our AI-powered bot. Today, our average client has over 90% of their questions automatically answered from the bot. And folks like Assurance are now north of 96%, which is state of the art. I would put us up against any AI technology out there in the industry. And by the way, the average answer time is about 1.6 seconds, which is, again, just phenomenal in terms
Remarkable.
of. But the whole thing is that we want to help your team do its best work by answering as many of those support questions as possible. And that can happen both internally for your LOs, that can help externally for your borrowers. So it can be both internal or external. And about a third of our clients are using us in both capacities, both internal and external. On the automation side, we have a workflows platform that can take all the back-end processes you have, and instead of assigning steps of your process to individuals, we can assign steps of your process to the bot to go take on all those back-end tasks. Think of it as helping to automate the underwriting help desk. And then the last part is on the platform side, we are connected with over 75 different applications, including Alex's baby with Sales Boomerang. But we're connected to all the major LOSs and all the major mortgage apps that you want to sync up with, in addition to things like Salesforce, HubSpot, Microsoft Office, Google Suite, et cetera. So support automation platform, we're here for the mortgage space. We're doing anything from answering questions on guidelines to looking up LO information to knowing what Sales Boomerang alerts are coming down the pike.
So real quick, I know Catherine's probably going to get into some of these examples. Give people on here a quick example of like, what would I ask the chat bot? And then before you tell me, well, you already kind of said 96% get answered in 1.6 seconds. So everyone listening, remember that. What is a question that somebody may ask the chatbot, and what has happened before capacity? Like, what would be the process? Like, how long would it take? Right now it takes 1.6 seconds with you, but what does it take without you?
Oh, I mean, we've got some questions that we've reduced down to seconds that would take days of back and forth email responses, or in some cases don't ever get answered at all. They end up kind of going into the ether. They don't get a response back. A borrower's upset, an LO's upset, et cetera. In terms of the areas that we connect to, we like to think of it as just about everything boils down to an app, a document, or a person. So those are the three major sources within your organization of where your kind of company intelligence lives. And so we've got a developer platform that can connect to your major apps like Sales Boomerang, like Microsoft Office, et cetera. We've got some technology that can read your documents. So you can ask a question into a doc, into a guideline, into say a note or a deed or mortgage that you wanted to ask a question about. And then lastly, your people. So we can crowdsource the most important or the frequently asked questions that your team tends to get, load that up into the knowledge base, and next thing you know, capacity is answering questions just like a person would.
Amazing. Amazing. So think about that again for everyone listening in. I don't know, Katherine, do you want to put any color around that before I give my quick note?
No, he nailed it. I mean, the only thing I would add to that is data in general. So if you have that data in web version or wherever you're hosting any sort of content, so it's a content database as well.
Fantastic. Now it's so everyone listening in, what you just heard is your team, and you know this, put this in chat if you agree, your team has questions, lots of questions, yes or no, right? Just give me that and I'll keep going, but get engaged in this conversation. They have questions, and often they have questions for you, but you are in the middle of doing something else. And so it's like, oh yeah, a bot responds in 1.6 seconds. Great. It's a robot. It can do that. But what you're forgetting, is that that question is not getting answered, not because you don't want to answer it, but because you just can't. But the person needs the answer right now. And so they're waiting. And so they're giving, sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, give me 30 minutes. I'll be right with you. And it's this, and guess what? Now you get frustration. Now you get, what was I asking? I forgot what I was going to ask you. Shoot, I know it was important. Where did I write it down? Here, you put the information into the chatbot. 96% of the time it get answered. How often is a question asked of you that you have to go find an answer for and then have to get back to this person? Eliminates all that, right? It's brilliant. So capacity. David, that was awesome. Sales Boomerang. What does Sales Boomerang do? Tim, thank you. We had somebody engaging. Tim said, of course. So Tim, guess what? We're about to give you a lot of time back, and a lot of time back to your team as well. All right. So what is Sales Boomerang? Sales Boomerang, as you guys can see, our mission we wear on our shirts: no borrower left behind. That's Sales Boomerang, and it's a small screen, so hopefully you guys can see it. Hopefully you have the big screen up here. but no borrower left behind. So what is Sales Boomerang?
I
Sales
thought Alex was going to take his shirt off, but I don't think it's that
It
kind
was
of
about
webinar.
it's
Okay,
tattooed on me also.
That wasn't the webinar.
So what we do is we wrap your database with borrower intelligence, and we're looking for relevant events that are happening to your borrowers, and we're connecting you to those people at the exact right time with the right purpose, right? So it's not just, in the past, if you have a database, this could be leads. Now, a lot of people, let me explain this because Katherine wanted to get some details on this. When we talk about your database, everyone goes, oh, my customers. Well, yes, but everyone is a customer, meaning not everyone in the country, not everyone in the world, but if you called a lead, but they didn't respond, that's a customer. It's like you walking into Target, but walking out with nothing. Target still sees you as a customer. You just haven't purchased something yet, right? So a lead, a turn down, an existing customer, pipeline, those are all people in your database that would appreciate, and you would appreciate, knowing what's happening in their life, right? And so that when there is an event that you can help them with, you're responding to that event and not just calling to ask questions. So in the past, when you have a customer base or a database, the way you would market to it is you would send out phishing emails. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, how's life? Oh, you just had a baby? Let me help you out, right? So you're asking, you're fishing, you're trying to bait them. And finally, when there's something that you could probably help them with, you go ahead and give them the sales pitch. We think it should work the other way. This industry, from the day that I started working on this project in 2016, has started to tell me that we're advisors. We're advisors first and salespeople second. But when we look at the industry, there's a lot of sales going on and very little advice. Why? Because salespeople respond. They react. That's what they do. Consultants advise. And so Sales Boomerang gives you the ability to advise. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, I see your credit went from 530 FICO score to above 620. You're now qualified for this program with us. That's one of the notifications Sales Boomerang can deliver. And a credit improvement alert, or a shopping alert, mortgage inquiry, they're shopping right now. Or maybe they have equity now to be able to do a cash out or remove their mortgage insurance, right? Or it's a debt watch or a cash out alert, meaning this person is qualified to do a cash out with you right now. So we do loan scenario notifications as well as event driven notifications, like a listing, mortgage inquiry, a rate improvement, whatever it is. But all of those are timely, and it's focused on the person that this information belongs to, meaning you're not doing a shotgun marketing approach. You're getting 38 notifications today with 38 people that need your help today. I see Katherine shaking her head. That is exactly
that's what it is. It's actually that they're exhibiting some sort of mortgage behavior. It may not be so blatant as having your credit pulled, which certainly we get that alert from Sales Boomerang, a competitor. If you have your credit pulled from a competitor, that you will certainly get that alert and try to save the loan. That's an obvious one, and lots of people offer that sort of trigger alert. This is behavior of the of people in your database likely have come across you, and you can say, hey, is mortgage on your mind today? It looks like there's, an opportunity. You might have, could we do a cash out and resolve some of your other outstanding debts? Things they weren't thinking to tie back to their mortgage, but it makes you the consultant suddenly, and you're there at the right time in the right place. It's fantastic.
It's perfectly said.
If I was going to speak on Alex's behalf, I view Sales Boomerang as the ability to contextualize your reach out. So you're not just reaching out with a blind message to a blind person, to folks that you haven't really engaged with. It's like, hey, how can I be helpful in helping you, the borrower, achieve your goals, your needs based on what's happening in your life? And so instead of leaving your team to kind of put their finger in the air and guess who they should be reaching out to, and guess what message they should be sending, and guess what events are occurring in their lives, Sales Boomerang really, we knows that down to, here's the specific message and the specific people you should be reaching out to, not in a month from now, but today.
Yes. That was our number one loan officer was not buying into this. So he has the biggest database. He's our guy, he's not buying into this. And I went and visited him. I'm like, I'm just curious, just why not? I mean, he has 6 people working for him, one of these things. And he said, well, because I have these 3-ring binders. He had 3 huge 3-ring binders. And he said, I come in early and I just go through those binders and see where the rates are. And see, they has a page, I guess, that he printed out on everybody. I was like, okay, let me fail. let me fail with Sales Boomerang first. Let's say you use it. And then in 2 weeks, if you can't stand it, doesn't work, whatever. Well, needless to say, I'm sure he can't even find those 3-ring binders. His whole team is like, where did you find this? What is it? You know, so there definitely needs to be some champions to change the behavior. It's impossible for an LO today to realize how much they don't have to work hard, but work smart. And that is exactly what Sales Boomerang allows them to do. So
that's awesome. Thank you both for that. And I'll wrap it up with this, and then let's dive into this mutual relationship and what you guys have been seeing. I'll end the Sales Boomerang piece on this. In this environment, Sales Boomerang is important in all environments. It's one of those things. However, in this particular environment, in a compressing margin environment, number one, and a rate locked environment, meaning people are rate locked now for a long time. You need to understand what's happening in your borrower's life so you can offer them what they need and not just try to sell them something because, oh my goodness, the volume of opportunities isn't where it was in 2020 and it's starting to. You shouldn't fear that. What you should know is that you're going to have an opportunity and be notified the moment your customer has a reason to talk to you. And so that could be a life event. That could be one of these other events that we already talked about. That is how you take people who are rate locked, because people who are rate locked are going to make a decision because of a life event. There's something that's happening. They got to do. They don't have a choice. They got to take action. And so you don't want to miss that. Like in this environment, it's very, very important to position yourself in front of your customer the moment they need it, but you won't know. It won't be the same reasons they've needed you for the last few years. It will be something very different, and you want to be in a position to take care of that. So in a compressing margin environment, which it's profitable deals through Sales Boomerang, but also the ability to position yourself at the right time because the reasons are going to change drastically. So I'll leave it with that. And that's probably a great transition into what's happening. What have you seen now that you've had both of these dialed in? What's happening at Assurance when Capacity and Sales Boomerang are working, and that speed to ROI?
Right. So speed to ROI is very critical for the company. A lot of the loan officers don't really care, right? Unless we're charging them, to the individual level. In some cases, that is the way it does. But what happens is that today, the coolest thing about technology is that technology in and of itself, having a point of sale system. I was just with some loan officers last night and they were talking about, I do not know how we would have gotten through last year without a strong point of sale system. I mean, thank gosh, we had all of that in place, right? Yes. And then because of COVID, when we did go to the closings and we had an e-closing solution, the other realtor that I didn't have in the deal was like, this is the easiest closing. I can't believe we were able to do this like this. So, certainly technology is awesome. What it does, however, is it removes you from your borrower. Sometimes you would used to have said, hey, stop by my office and drop off your bank statements and how are the kids, right? You're missing all of that opportunity to engage. It's a fantastic service, but it does remove you from your borrower. So the main thing that we need to do is this pace, because the competition is fierce. If you're a little more removed from your borrower, technology in and of itself may not make a borrower as loyal as they used to be, because I can apply online anywhere. I don't have to call someone and wait for them to call me back or do a handwritten 1003. So the pace of getting the data and you being the one to intelligently reach out is more critical from a competitive standpoint than it has ever been. So recognizing that, that the ability to ask capacity. So here's the spot. Capacity is essentially what I call David and I got to visit together for the first time a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
Starlight. And
thank you,
really
Pfizer.
What's that?
I said, thank you, Pfizer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really. So we, got to really dive into the details, dive into this. And, that definitely takes, that's what it takes in this industry today, because nothing's going to be quite too intuitive for clients to figure this out and for technology companies to work together unless all three of us do it together, because it's never been done before. We certainly know that the market is very ready to adopt technology. Certainly in the financial services industry, they're ready to adopt technology, but they don't know what that looks like. They have an expectation of the user experience. If you put something into a chat, you're expecting an answer. So the goal is how do we sort of surprise and delight the experience, because there are two paths going on here. And certainly those paths affect your technologies for us very much. You have the loan officer path and everything they're going to generate business and close that business. And then you have the consumer path and everything they're trying to understand about mortgage and understand their timing options. Capacity can serve both of those paths. So the data that you put in, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? The data you put in allows those answers to come out. And so I call Capacity a collaborative operating system, because there is a very kind of robust effort with something like Capacity, where you are literally putting in answers to questions. You're getting questions, you're answering them if they didn't get an answer. That's how we've been able to get to 96%. We are diligently answering these questions in the back end all the time. However, the collaboration point is Capacity can integrate with a number of different tools that can give you instant knowledge, because you're just field data matching, right? So if you think of how difficult it is in Encompass to get an answer, you pretty much have to go back to your office, log into Encompass, wait, and click a folder and wait. I mean, it's just like, I'm just trying to figure out what they need to bring to closing, right? It just takes forever. But if you're in Capacity, which is fully integrated with Encompass, and you ask the bot, what do the Johnsons need to bring to closing? Well, it's integrated. So you can be on the road, on your phone, talking to the client, say, let me ask real fast. Looks like you need to bring $36,472 to closing, okay? So the pace of the service is absolutely incredible, okay? So one of the challenges I had was Sales Boomerang is incredible. Capacity is incredible. I'm not seeing enough usage out of the two from loan officers like I would suspect. There's robust tools like All Regs in there that when they have a quick loan scenario question they can ask. I mean, it's very useful, but what makes the most powerful technology out there for a salesperson is sales leads, right? So that's when I thought, gosh, wouldn't it be cool if we could just ask Capacity, what's going on today? And in that what's going on today, it's going to give them, because it's fully integrated with Microsoft 365, that it can give them their Outlook calendar. It can give them the corporate calendar, which we incorporate in there. Today is a webinar, that Catherine's going to be on, whatever it is. And then it can give them their Sales Boomerang alerts. So that is an option where they can just type, what are my Sales Boomerang alerts? Once they populate in that bot window, the loan officer can literally just click to call right from within the alert system. And so they can say, hey, looks like you might be in the market for a mortgage, or haven't talked to you lately. How are you doing? Some people can be very aggressive and just say, I can see you got your credit pulled somewhere else. It's whatever style is there. I think the coolest part of it, though, is that you need to look at this from a fully integrated solution, where once that alert comes in and we know the alert type, and certainly we have the email of the borrower, we can actually push a very specific notification to say, if you're getting your credit pulled from other places, please try us too. It's a no obligation quote, those types of things, or we can have a very general message. That's up to the individual lenders, how they want to handle the communication, but that they would get an email and likely a phone call. You are right on top of that borrower when they're in need.
So Katherine, I know a lot of lenders share a lot of similar pain points. What were you experiencing at Assurance before implementing Sales Boomerang and Capacity, and how has that changed afterwards?
So, I'm not ashamed to say it was very, very despairing. I mean, it was literally, a question that would come to 7 people that would be like, hey, I'm not sure to talk to, but I can't get my login. And none of the 7 people were the right person. It's like, oh my gosh, what do I even do with this? Right? Okay, and so now you're ceasing. No, I answered him. No, I thought you answered him. Oh, I didn't answer because I thought he answered. Right. So it's here's where we all are in this industry. It's the most exciting time to be in it just ever. But it's growing. And so not only do you have growing people at a corporate level where you're not sure who's handling what anymore, we also have growing loan officers. So you are answering those same beginner questions over and over and over again, which are very fair questions to be asking. But if you're adopting a new loan officer a week or 10 new loan officers a week, you just cannot keep up. And so what happens is we start to not service our own our internal client base very well at all. And so as that was starting to sort of boil up to a real issue, because the more technology that came on, people loved it if they understood and sat through the training, but that meant that we had more questions. So how then do we dump lots and lots of basic, anything from the actual answer to resources to that answer? Click here to get the full explanation, right? They don't have to dig through our intranet and find, is that in marketing because it's a marketing technology, or is it in technology, or is it in IT? Like, who would have that answer, right? Just ask it, because we are we are pulling all of that data from our intranet content into Abby. We have Ask Abby. That is how we personify capacity. And so they can go ask Abby and she's going to have the answer for them. So it went from being a very challenging, just like you said, David, often not answered at all because it was just so many questions coming in. And then wait for you just have to wait for the training. We're going to have the training next Wednesday. Just wait for all your questions for then, right? So, and we all know loan officers do not like to wait. So that was just a very, very powerful transition to be able to answer quickly.
So Katherine, when you think about what you all were looking for in bringing on a partner, what were some of the key attributes you were looking for? You work with a lot of different tech stack companies. What were you looking for in a partnership?
Well, really, that right there, a partnership. So, I can sign up with almost any technology, right? We all have, you're trying to sell a piece of technology. I'm a client needing a piece of technology, but recognizing how far this industry has to go, how much faster the competitive landscape is going to get, that I need people who are open-minded and can think. I need people like you, David, that can come out and say, I'll meet you in Charlotte. We're going to dig through this for 4 hours and uncover all of the opportunities. What can I build? What can I partner with someone like Alex? What can our internal teams build? Can we do a live database? Can I announce some of your new pieces that are just phenomenal? Okay, we can do live DB, some very fast database integrations. And then one of the most powerful things you're doing is an actual alert system on top of it. So imagine, guys, that even more than going in and asking if you have Sales Boomerang alerts today, little Abby pops up a 3 right there to say, you've got 3 Sales Boomerang alerts today. Oh, I forgot to ask. Good thing I've got this alert system sitting here now, right? So it's that partnership, that constant evolution, the agreeable, tactic to do 2 things that Capacity is really, really helping us with. If you have a tech company that gives you the technology, particularly in today's environment, unless you have a very sophisticated internal team of developers, and not a developer, an internal team of developers, you will never get the most out of that technology, right? We've all been through, Salesforce kind of.
Get out the duct tape. Can we duct tape all these things together? And it's just a big mess. Yeah.
That's right. And then, when the one LO goes in and tries 2 times and doesn't get what they want, they'll never use that technology again. So now you're not even getting your money's worth out of it. So what was really important is that David's team at Capacity has a regular weekly call with us. It's every single week. And we go through and actually say, this is the question, we weren't sure where it belonged. And on the fly, they are answering that question for us right there and, putting it in the sorted order that we need to do that. And so it's not like we get off the phone with these guys and then say, okay, now we have all this stuff to do. What did they say to do? It's like we get off the phone, it's done. We move on. So and then we've learned a lot and we continue to progress throughout the week. But it's in that actual, helping us use the technology that's been big. The other piece is I also run IT. A composable business model is very, very important to me. I do not want someone to tell me, well, the only people we integrate because we have a vested interest in is this XYZ alert system. So, but we already have an alert system. No, my contract is with Sales Boomerang and I like their alert system, right? So I want to choose the partners and products that I work with, and I want everybody to be agreeable to work together, understanding that, there might be a monetary consequence to us for wanting that design, but certainly getting the best use out of all of these tools and adoption of these tools so that we get to ROI. It's only through adoption and use of these things that you ever see the realization of it. It's all potential until it's used, and it's all phenomenal potential. But if you don't actually get to the phone call because you forgot to open up an email with alerts in it, how are we ever going to realize an ROI? So that's the 2 big things that Capacity has done for us.
And we're talking about speed to ROI here. And one of the things that often people are afraid of is when they hear the word integration, they're like, here we go, months, and they're going to add us onto a technology sprint one day. And can you talk to the simplicity between the integration between Capacity and Sales Boomerang and how long it took, how easy it was? Give everybody a quick thought.
It's like the only instant hero thing I've ever done. I look like such a genius because I woke up in the morning and I did absolutely nothing but introduce you to. But, so let's say I run marketing. So let's say that we do a new marketing spend with ESPN. I am 120 days out from that spend to understand if the clicks came back to the site, if applications came through, which who cares if applications come through, how much business actually closed. You're talking about a very long lag time from certain types of initiatives to understanding if there's profitability. Okay, what we do in our business intelligence tool is start to measure different types of lead sources, the likelihood of them to close, and then earlier up the funnel we can start to project an ROI. We know with Sales Boomerang, the likelihood of closing is extraordinarily high because you certainly know this person, they're in your database. They may very well have been a client of yours before. So the likelihood of a contact and start of application is has a very high propensity to close. So what we do is say, what happened was is once y'all integrated, which was less than 30 days, and it was one of the first integrations I think you did. So, you had to figure out a few things and then bam, it's done. It was, what are my Sales Boomerang alerts today? Well, here they are. Let me click to call. Well, yes, I do want to refinance. Well, let me get your app in. Well, I have a likelihood of closing 24 hours. Okay. I can start to project to that profitability very, very quickly. And of course, then within 30 to 60 days, we had a lot of very solid numbers to prove that this was a very effective path to applications.
So I think it's important to note in what you just shared, which is awesome, is that not only did we get our integration working very quickly, but you were able to start tracking the results from that. Like you could put a value around the integration and not just say, hey, check the box, they're integrated. And I think that's very important for everyone here. And I think, David, you'd agree too, is that, you have some people that want things to be integrated, but they don't know the value of that integration. They're like, yeah, we're integrated, but what's it doing for you? And you were able to measure that, which I think is part of the brilliance of what you do in assurance in general, Katherine, is you inspect what you expect, which is an incredible trait, right? You inspect what you expect. You didn't even know you were doing it. See,
I didn't even know I was doing that. I love it.
No, you just put a different terminology around it, but it's true. You really focus on saying we're not just going to throw money at it and hope it works. We're going to see if it works, and if it does, we're going to dial it up. And so I think two important things there. The integration was fast. It wasn't that Sales Boomerang and Capacity was like, yeah, we'll figure it out. Give us 90 days and we'll get it up, and in 120 days you'll get to appreciate it. We got it done within 30 days. And you started seeing the results of that integration really fast. So just important for people to understand, not just about Sales Boomerang Capacity. When you're working on integrations with your technology partners, make sure you understand the why, and make sure you put some, what is the expected results from this? Like, what do you want to see? Just integrating and going, well, it's working together now, without those expectations for yourself, you won't know if it's working as well as it could be. So I think that's an important call out there.
Go ahead, David.
I was just going to say, Katherine, when we met in Charlotte a few weeks ago, one of the things that really impressed me was a lot of folks in a chief digital officer, CTO, CIO type role. They want to ask for new technology, and that's their big, hey, we need to add this and this and this and this. You were like, it was an even bigger ask to make sure we get the ROI tracked for all this stuff, so that when we go back to our executive team, when we go back to our broader team, we're not just guessing why we should or shouldn't use these particular systems. Like, no, here's the data that proves this out.
That's right.
Yeah.
And getting that data, however, because this is what happens. Well, there's a lot of CEOs out there that are going, all right, I don't understand it, but if you say so, okay, let's sign that contract, right? The success of that is solely up to the CDO or CTO or CIO. It is solely up to us, because if we went through the 30 days of integration and then it was integrated, and so you could ask Capacity, you could ask Abby, what are my Sales Boomerang alerts today? And then I started talking about it. Well, now I'm 30 days before anybody even remembers to ever do it, right? So that speed to ROI is because the moment y'all agreed you were doing it, I was on managers' calls. I was on Ask a Marketer Monday. We have a monthly marketing meeting. I'm pushing this out. We're putting out the notifications again so that they know it's coming. Get excited. This is going to be so cool. Won't it be great to ask Abby this? This is what it will look like. This is a screenshot of it. So, again, noise, because, we're sending out a lot of stuff. But then when it was there, we had some people try it. If you can get one champion per region, one champion per office, ideally, that's all you need for them to go, oh my God, this is kind of cool. Have you seen this? Oh, I heard about that. At least they've heard about that. So that speed to ROI, this is the big difference between the haves and the have-nots. It's not only integrating these things correctly, but communicating them well and making sure that they are set up to succeed, that they understand exactly how the skills of these tools can be used.
Yeah, it truly, and again, it just goes to, and this is why we put these events on and we talk about this, because you've said several times in this conversation, Katherine, that the landscape has changed and it's become more and more competitive. Look, if I'm sitting in your shoes, Katherine, and the folks that are on this call, and I'm talking to a borrower, I'm mentioning to them, listen, and this is something that, by the way, I hear a lot from Mortgage Coach, and I know Jason is from there, but I hear a lot this from Mortgage Coach. Advice over price, okay? Advice over price. And so when I think about capacity and I think about being a loan officer, I say, when I'm talking to a borrower, I just want to give you a couple of advantages of working with us. I know there's a lot of options. Southwest says this every time you get off their plane. There's a lot of options. Thank you for choosing us, right? There's a lot of options out there for you, but here's why you want to choose us. We have this engine that helps us answer your questions within 2 seconds. So if you have a question, it's not something I have to wait to get an answer for you for, or a lot of times I'll have, you'll hear, I'll call you back, give me a couple of days. No, I could probably get it to you within seconds right now, anytime you ask a question. That's one of the reasons you want to work with us. The other reason is we're always going to be there for you. Sometimes you'll forget us, but we won't forget you, and we'll know why you may need us, and we'll always be there for you to offer you that advice. And so that's why you want to choose to work with us at Assurance, right? Like that becomes another selling point. Without selling the mortgage, it's about selling yourself and selling the company. These two things allow you to do that very easily.
You nailed it. It was one of my most favorite conversations with one of our regional managers. He called me and he said, "Look, I have a trip. I'm going to be gone for several days. I've got several recruits I'm meeting with. Do you have any tips, anything new that I should share with them?" I said, "Yeah, pick up your phone." So he picked up his phone. We were zooming just like this. And I said, go to we call it the hub. That's our intranet. I said, go to the hub. So he logged right in because it's an SSO, a single sign-on integration. You got to make all this super, super simple, right? So he goes to the hub. I said, you see Abby at the bottom? Oh yeah. I see the little, little chat bot. So I said, I want you to ask Abby what's going on today. So he does that in pretty much 1.6 seconds. He gets a list of options. Would you like to see your calendar? Do you want to see the corporate calendar? Your sales said, now click Sales Boomerang alerts. And he's like, get out. I said, that's all you got to do, and go get them. That's all. That's it. So from a recruiting standpoint, in real time, you're not saying, and we have great technology, and we're a leader. You're going, let me show you something right now, okay? And it's absolutely very powerful from a competitive standpoint, from keeping your loan officer standpoint, and certainly servicing your client base.
Yeah, I mean, you're just changing lives, right? We talked about this. You're changing lives for your team and for their customers, and for the rest, the non-producing team. Everyone is getting this advantage because less questions. And look, let's and then we have one last kind of question here, and then we'll go into some Q&A if there's some. But in this environment, and we're talking about speed, it's very important, right? That speed is critical, and it's critical for. Look, we have houses that go on the market and off the market real quick, right? So you want to be fast. You don't want your consumer to call with a question and you say, I'll get back to you tomorrow, because tomorrow their house is gone, right? So in this competitive environment, that speed, that ability, that efficiency is everything. Cutting off seconds, and you're laughing, but cutting off seconds at hundreds of deals, thousands of deals, that turns into hours and days and weeks. And that is the difference between profitable deals and not profitable deals, and being able to sustain a market like what's coming up over the next year and a half, 2 years, and not making it through the market and going, I had to do all of these bad deals just to survive, and now I'm not able to survive anymore. So profitability, efficiency is profitability, right? So if you can be more efficient, every deal becomes more profitable, and you want all of those savings to come into you so that you can put it back into the company and back into your team. So I guess let's dive into the last thing. David, do you want to jump into that last question?
I was just going to say an analogy somebody used was, if you went from using Capacity and Sales Boomerang back to not using them, it would be like going from gigabit internet back to dialing up.
Oh, there you go. It's exactly like that. And we've talked about this a little bit, guys, where, what we want to do with technology is not to eliminate a loan officer job. We are not in a place in this country where you're going to borrow $400,000 and not talk to somebody about it, so that loan officer is still very much there. We're using the technology for non-revenue generating activity so that you have more time for revenue generating activity. Stop going through the binders, get your instant alerts, and then go out for the rest of the day and sell. That's right.
I love that. I'm going to write that quote for the attendees to read for non-revenue generating activities, so humans can do the revenue generating and relationship generating activities. I love that. And so look, we're on speed, which, this is speed to ROI. So you've kind of answered it, but it's a little bit repetitive, but maybe it's worth just putting it into this frame. Have Capacity and Sales Boomerang increased the route to closing?
Absolutely. So, it's pretty easy. Again, we were already using these two tools separately. We've had a very busy couple of years in this industry. So when you have someone who's busy, they're not necessarily looking for new business. But when the new business opportunity comes to them, right, certainly, if they have LOAs and all of that, somebody can be reviewing that. But if you have to go log in and go find those alerts and you're busy, you may not even have someone doing that. So the opportunity to be right on an intranet that they're in every day, to get a quick alert system. Now we have greater utilization of both tools, which justifies the renewal of these tools, which I believe we just did with both of you. So that's, congratulations and thank you very much.
Yeah.
And so that the CEO buys into that, the regional managers buy into that. You have higher use of that tool, and obviously you have higher conversions of these alerts, which means our ROI will be even higher this year from that utilization. So it comes full circle.
Yes. Speaking of ROI, we didn't mention the stats. So you guys, Assurance, with incorporating all of this, now everybody kind of buckle up, because it's an astounding number. As an entire company, you guys, for every dollar invested into Sales Boomerang, you guys got $40 back in 2020. That's a pretty significant return on investment. So congrats on that. And the number should be higher this year.
They should be higher this year. And to the LO level, depending on how those fees got distributed, some of them had hundreds of percents increase in revenue for what they spent on it. So it's fantastic.
Fantastic. That's awesome. So look, I think, David, did you have anything you want to add towards the end of this, or should we open this up for more questions?
Yeah, I feel let's open up to Q&A.
Cool. All right. So this was sort of a whole entire Q&A session. That's kind of how we wanted to do this. We wanted you guys to be part of the conversation. If you all weren't here, we would be having this type of conversation anyway. We would be like sharing these concepts and these big ideas. So now the floor is yours. Let's ask some questions. Let's see what we have here. I know we had a question from David, but it was already answered, I think, or Willem. I'm sorry. Willem was asking about how long the integration took. It took less than 30 days. So there's the answer to that question. What else would you guys like to know about Sales Boomerang Capacity? Ask Katherine some questions. I know you guys are running teams. Is there anything else you'd want to know from Katherine about how they're getting adoption, utilization? What are some things that are on your mind?
One question that we've seen a few folks ask is like, okay, David, how many questions do you actually get? Like, okay, you get this thing implemented. Like what kind of takes? We mentioned the 96% match rate. I was just looking at this live. In the last 6 weeks, Assurance has gotten 4,804 questions.
Oh my goodness.
So it just gives you a sense of the volume that the bot can answer.
Yeah, and think about that. If those questions used to take 10 minutes to answer, do the math. 40,000 minutes of questions.
That's
right.
Exactly. That's what I said. My number one commitment to everyone in this company, because you have processors utilizing this too, right? You have everybody utilizing. You can actually. Can I just tout one other really cool feature of this?
Yeah.
We integrated our HR platform with this, so you can clock in and out through Capacity. You can ask Abby.
So cool.
Can I clock in? Yes, you're clocked in. Can I clock out? Yes, you clocked out. Okay. It's like just so simple. It's just phenomenal the things you can do with it. That what I promised the whole company was my commitment to you in 2021 is to get you out of email jail. And I want you to take this ride with me. You've got to be committed to it. You've got to ask Abby questions, even if she doesn't know the answers, because we're just getting rolling. I don't know what you want to know unless you ask her first before you utilize other resources. And that's how we were able to get this rolling so well.
It's fantastic. If you just take that 4,000 questions, many of you have to be just, pulling your hair out trying to get things done for your team. But if you take those 4,000 questions and instead of 10 minutes, which is 40,000 minutes, you now have 2 seconds, you're talking about 8,000 seconds and everything got answered. It doesn't even seem real that it's possible.
Yeah.
So I love that you brought that up just now, David. That's awesome. What other questions are we getting? Jennifer, Richard, are we getting any questions pushed into Q&A anywhere, or I'm not seeing it in chat? Oh, there's a question.
Yeah, I think that one's for me. We can, yeah. So, you know, what you need to understand is from your point of sale activity, program, or however it is you're taking data. Capacity is completely, the API is great. Their willingness to work with other companies is great. So it's just a matter of how you're passing that data, how it's available to be, ingested. So as long as that works for you guys, it certainly works for us. From a public standpoint, we will soon be launching askabby.com, and that is a very robust integrated system using Capacity, where borrowers, very much a millennial play, can come in and go so far as to actually get, here's my Ask Abby, can I get a loan for $500,000? What is your down payment? So it leads you through a series of questions, and then it can come out so far and say your rate would be 3.5%. So yes, it can go as far as you want. It just depends on the tools you have in the back end.
Great answer. Great question, Jason. Let's see. How does Sales Boomerang determine which borrowers to follow up with? Great question there too. So we're not choosing borrowers and saying, hey, here's who you should and here's who you shouldn't follow up with. The real question is, who needs your help right now? Who would benefit from a conversation with you based on something that's happening in their life? And that the benefit is determined with us together. I'm afraid to pronounce your name wrong, so I'm not going to try. But it depends. We're going to work on this together, and it's going to be determined by some targets, some specific things. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. It's not about who to contact. It's about why you're contacting them. So, for just a simple example, you pulled someone's credit today, and they're just not qualified. Well, you would want to contact them when they're qualified. Sales Boomerang will tell you when they're qualified. You talk to somebody today and they want to do a cash out. They want to invest in a pool for their home. They want to take $40,000 out of their house. They just want to pay for this tomorrow, right? Or whatever. You talk to them, they don't have enough equity. Well, we will let you know when they have enough equity. So it's not about who, it's about why. The who, it's your customers. That's always your customers. The why is the most important thing. So we determine the why together, and not just the why, but why attached to a benefit. This is the why. They're not qualified right now. The benefit is they're qualified, right? So we'll notify you of that. So I hope that answers your question. It's not about just who we're targeting. It's about why, what's the reason, and how can you benefit them? What you don't want to do is set a notification for yourself that tells you something about your borrower that you can't help them with at all. Like nothing, right? Which is why we eliminate all wasted alerts. If it's not going to help, we don't even deliver alerts on it. So only when there is a benefit. We talk about Sales Boomerang as a good news platform. You always deliver good news to a customer when you get a Sales Boomerang alert. It's always good news. There's never bad news available. So the question is, what sort of good news do you want to deliver? And that is where we sort of tune it up for your particular needs. So I hope, man, I want you to go off mute so you can tell us how to say your name.
Tatiana. That's got to be Tatiana.
Tatiana. Okay, Tatiana. I like it.
I'm guessing. I hope
Did we get it right, Tatiana? Is that how you pronounce it?
Thumbs up. Right on.
That's a yes.
Hey,
look at you, Catherine.
Girl. I got you.
You're good. You're good. That's a beautiful name too.
That's a pretty good name.
So look, if there are no more questions, why don't let me put up this screen here real quick for us. For anyone that wants to get in touch with us, if you guys want to reach out to Katherine, if there are folks on the call that are maybe looking at new organizations to join or anything like that, or any questions that Katherine talked about today, you reach out to Katherine. David, you can reach out to David right there. You see his email, and my email is attached. For everyone that's thinking about Capacity and Sales Boomerang, schedule a conversation with Capacity or schedule a conversation with Sales Boomerang. And if it's coming from this particular event and we see you scheduling a demo from here, we will try to invite and have the other parties available, right? Because you're hearing it together. If you already have Sales Boomerang, you want to add capacity, reach out to David, reach out to us, and have us tell you all the other cool things we think about capacity. So it makes your decision easier, and vice versa. If you already have capacity, want to include Sales Boomerang, we will try to have both teams on the call so we can answer those questions for you in real time. Remember, speed to ROI. We would offer that for you guys here. So schedule demos, schedule conversations, ask those questions. Let's increase that speed to ROI. And I just want to thank you, Katherine. What an amazing company you guys are building, and a process you're building. And thank you so much for coming up with this webinar and creating this topic. And David, you too, for bringing all the knowledge and experience that you bring to the table here. So thanks everyone for making this happen.
Thanks for having us.
You built great technology. Happy to be using it. Thanks a bunch.